First post-game pod of the year. Not on great terms, but a post-game pod nonetheless, and I'm glad we have some baseball to talk about, Drew. How are we feeling after game one of 162? And we are not going to go 162-0, as the title says, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a little bit rattled, but it's gonna be what it's gonna be. I mean, it's just one, like you said, one out of 162. So
Yep.
there's 161 more. We can go out there and do the same thing to the other team.
Right. Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, it's not ideal, obviously, because opening day you want to go out there and you want to win, but the bullpen, it was just I don't really know what happened. None of them came out throwing strikes at all. It was terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked like they were kind of still in spring training mode, which was odd because I felt like they all looked fine in spring training for the most part. Brogdon's a separate story. We'll get to him. No offense to the guy, but we're going to talk about him. He's another story from the day. I mean, he's really, in my opinion, I was talking to my one buddy about it. He's really the only takeaway you can kind of have from today, if there are any, because it's just kind of like a, burn the tape, wash it type of game.
Yeah.
But that being said, Drew, I mean, the first 6 innings, felt like a completely different game to me.
Yeah.
Strider and Wheeler were just dealing, and honestly, Strider was better than Wheeler. Maybe that's just because the Braves lineup has more raw talent than we do starting out. But regardless, I mean, Strider was dealing up until the Marsh home run. Wheeler was dealing for the whole game. I mean, Wheeler was great today. I mean, I thought he looked awesome. He looked locked in. Sometimes he starts the season a little bit slower. Didn't look like that today. He was on one, and very glad about that. Really glad his first opening day start went as well as it did. Or at least with us, first opening day. I would guess it's his first opening day start ever. I don't believe he ever started.
Yeah, it was. It was his first. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. So that was encouraging. I certainly thought he looked good today. And that was really the story, again, like I said, of the first 6 innings, was that it was a pitcher's duel outside of the Marsh home run, to be quite honest. There was some hard contact off of Wheeler, but you could also counter that with some of the hits that dropped in off of Wheeler weren't hit particularly that well. So I think that's the best starting point, is that the first 6 innings don't tell the story of what the game was. The game was the last 3 innings, if we're being honest.
Yeah. I know you were there in real life, but Wheeler, his sinker, that thing was running like 23, 24 inches every single time he was throwing it. That thing was absolutely nasty. It was like unreal. Like Michael Harris, I think, got a hit off of it, and it literally hit off the end of the bat and queued up the third baseline.
Yes, that was the swinging bunt.
Yeah, whenever Bohm bobbled that. I mean, that thing was nasty today. But I mean, aside from that, Wheeler was all over the strike zone for the most part. I mean, no walks, obviously. So, I think he had 11 out of 13 or 11 out of 12 first pitch strikes at one point or something like that. I mean, he was really good. Yeah. And I mean, Strider was obviously equally as good. I mean, he was mowing us down like crazy. So,
yeah. So I like you said, I was there, so I obviously did not see what happened in the dugout. So I would love to hear about this. that might be a positive takeaway from today too. He seemed pretty rattled. We were just talking about it before we got on stream, after the Marsh home run, and then when Rojas walks, which I see we got a comment about Rojas too. Welcome in, by the way, Soli. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, they showed Strider in the dugout, like holding his iPad, and he was like freaking out, like grabbing it, like going like this, and he just threw it down and walked away from it, like screaming.
That is awesome. Yeah,
that was right after the Marsh home run, obviously.
I'm sure he did not appreciate having his first start of the season in Philadelphia, because the Braves got the win, and I'm sure he's ultimately happy about that. But we have some real estate up there. Let's be real. Like we have some real estate up in that guy's head, and I love it. So.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Castellanos did absolutely nothing against him and was garbage today. So the Castellanos ownage of Spencer Strider looks like it was just a one-off in the NLDS, but we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, Castellanos. I mean, he might have been blindfolded going up there. Honestly, did he forget his contacts or something? I have no idea, but that's just inexcusable. Absolutely no reason for that. I mean, he was terrible. He went up there. He was literally swinging at everything.
Everything, dude.
I mean, there was a ball like 5 feet out of the zone, and he swung at it almost. Like,
that was disappointing. Like, that was one of the other takeaways I had from the game, was Castellanos just. I felt a lack. Like, you know how you feel a certain confidence or lack of confidence when certain players are in certain situations, and every time it came up that, I felt a big lack of confidence after how the first at bat went, and I just didn't foresee it getting any better. It's the same thing, he lays off the slider, but it's like, oh, he was probably just taking the pitch regardless of whether it was a slider or not. And then he goes and swings at a slider and curveball and every at bat after that. So, and then he got the single late, the RBI single, the Mickey Mouse one at the end of the game. Was that him?
I wasn't even watching the game at that point. It was
yeah,
like 9-2.
So he gets a hit and an RBI in the box score, but I mean, I'm taking at the end of the year. I'm like off of his total at the end of the year. I'm taking one of them off now.
Yeah, he literally was one of the reasons we lost that game. He was terrible.
He was awful. And speaking of which, I think that's a good way to segue into the lineup too. The top 5 in the lineup were terrible today. Bryce didn't look that good, to be quite honest. Man. Trey didn't do much. Schwarber wasn't as bad as the others, but he didn't really do much either, obviously. And yeah, JT was really unproductive today too. I thought the biggest thing of those top 5 wasn't that they were just 0-4, in most of their at bats. It was that they were unproductive at bats for the most part too. I mean, I think I can remember maybe 1 or 2 of those guys having a productive at bat this game. And again, it's everything we say during this pod. Like, it's one game. It's going to sound like overreactions, but we're just talking about what happened in the game. But Point being, like, the top 5 were disappointing. And honestly, that has felt like the story of the last few years, Drew, is the lineup, the guys who are supposed to hit don't hit, and the daycare finds a way to hit. I don't know. It just feels like every game. But
yep. I mean, like, the top 5, I wouldn't say the top 5 were bad because Bohm actually looked pretty good. But
I forgot he was in the top 5 too. Yeah, Bohm actually was very good today. Yep.
The top 4 of the guys you're paying over $100 million a year combined, they were just terrible. I mean, they had no idea what was coming at them. I mean, Bryce had that walk, but I mean, that's not anything crazy productive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, like he just said, I mean, Bomer, I mean, he looked really good today. He was kind of spraying the ball. So that was really good to see out of him. I mean, I'm a big Bohm guy, obviously, so that made me feel good.
Yeah, I think you have him at 28 home runs and 40 doubles today, I realized, right?
25 home runs, yeah.
25 home runs. Okay,
yep.
Gotcha. But yeah, that's going to be – he's going to be fun to watch this year, man. Like, and it was just kind of classic Bohm. I know we're going to complain about the power plenty this year, or the lack of it at certain times. And it's game 1, so, I'm not going to complain about it just yet. I'm going to give it a month or 2. But – it was just classic Bohm today, which in a good way. He just makes solid contact, and he finds, like you said, he sprayed the field. Like, he found green grass, and he found the holes in the infield, and he hit it to where nobody was. So you love to see that out of him today. I mean, Bohm was one of the other few bright spots. So yeah, thanks for correcting me on that, because I think I was grouping Cassidy in with those top 5. Obviously, that was not very pretty if you group in. I mean, if you group in like the top 5 paid guys, yeah, pretty bad day.
Terrible day.
But point being, though, I don't really have too much else to say on the top 5, the top 4 plus Castellanos, other than, again, burn the tape. Let's move on to tomorrow. But that being said, to kind of segue here into the daycare too, Brandon Marsh, man. I mean, how about that home run? Oppo Taco too, like that
inside
guy,
out.
That guy, yeah, like I love what that guy's doing right now. I feel like he's just obviously not. I feel like he has definitively made so many strides over the past year and a half, or I mean, even beyond that. Just since he's gotten to Philadelphia, honestly, like from game 1, he's been a better baseball player since he put a Phillies uniform on. But to see him do that today against a really, really talented major league pitcher, maybe one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball right now, and I believe it was a quality at bat. I forget what pitch of the at bat he hit that on. Maybe I'm mixing up another at bat, but regardless. I mean, he got a great piece on that. Like, that was solid contact. Hit it to the left center field. That was awesome, man. I mean, to see him and Bohm hit the way they did today, those were like the few bright spots of the game. So,
yep. And Stott was on base when Marsh hit that. So, those 3 guys, I mean, it's like all last year, they were so consistent. Like, especially Marsh and Stott, they were just ridiculous last year. I think both of them hit up near 300, and that was a huge part of why we actually made it into the playoffs last year, because a lot of what happened today happened last year. Like, the top 4 in the lineup just came out and decided they weren't going to play that day. I mean,
yeah, there's really no other way to put it, honestly. Like, it's sad, but
we were talking about this spring, JT fixing the hole in his swing. His whole swing was a hole today. I don't know what was going on. He was bad.
Yeah, that's a brutal way to put it.
He did gun Jared Kelenic out by about 2 miles. That was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. Acuna steals the base earlier in the game, and then he was like, "Yeah, Jared, you're not him."
Yeah.
And he gunned him down. That was awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, the lineup, there's really not much to say other than we did get a comment about Rojas too. And we will get to the comments in a second here before we move on to what I think is the obvious story about today. So Rojas, yeah, I mean, we were talking about this before stream. I mean, he looked fine, honestly, like made contact both times. He had 2 strikes on him a couple times too. Worked a walk as well. Like obviously the walk, we were talking about it. It came right after the Marsh home run, and Strider did seem a little bit rattled after that. And the crowd was starting to roar a little bit. So, you got to take that into account. But at the same time, I think you said it best before we started the stream, Drew. He didn't look completely lost, at least from where I was. I thought he looked solid today. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the nastiest pitcher in the National League that he's facing today. I mean, it's 100 with 2 nasty breaking balls at this point. Also, I know you didn't get to see it, but Strider's curveball looked really good. It was that thing was moving.
Yeah, I did notice it even from the stands, so it was noticeable.
Yeah, he was using that thing against lefties a ton, especially Bryce and Schwarber. Schwarber swung over one way out of the zone at some point, I think. And so did Marsh, I believe. But I mean, Marsh swung at one like at his ankles. I don't know what he was looking for, but that wasn't it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you noticed or not, but also Wheeler got Acuna with his splitter, made him look really dumb.
I didn't notice it like in the moment, but I noticed he was throwing it, so I'll have to go back and watch that. But
yeah, it was a nasty strikeout.
I love that. I mean, talk about 2 guys who are already so dominant. Adding another pitch, that should almost be banned. It'd be like, all right, you're cut off at this many pitches, but but I mean, great for the game of baseball, though. I mean, those guys have been fun to watch over the past few years. But yeah, with that being said, let's get to a few of these comments here before we do get to the bullpen, which some of the comments are about the bullpen. So Nate, welcome in. Good to see you in here. Says, I've got some things to say about this game. Not happy. Yeah, I don't blame you for that. I think that's how we're all kind of feeling right now. And Sully says, I wonder if Topper will let Nola go longer than Wheeler tomorrow to let out the bullpen loose, to let out our bullpen loose after the anxiety attack we endured today. And yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of these comments are pretty much about the bullpen. So let's just transition into that anyway. On that note, I feel like when you put Brogdon in, you pretty much were saying, all right, let's eat this game. Let's get it to tomorrow. And let's save the rest of the bullpen. So I don't think he'll let Nola go any longer than they had plans for him to. But on that note, I mean, Brogdon's not going to be up in the majors very, very long. That was evident from his performance today. And I sure hope that's why he was in, because I feel like if Marte is in, and I don't know, Marte is hit or miss sometimes too. And I think he looked solid in the 8th, obviously low leverage spot. So there's only so much you could take away from that. But I feel like he definitely gives you a better chance to keep it at 4-2 in that 7th inning. I think that was the inning. But regardless, I mean, we're talking about maybe a marginal difference there. Obviously, upside Marte is much better, but in that spot, I'm not certain that Marte gets out of that spot either. But regardless, I mean, Brogdon wasn't the reason because we were already starting to fall apart at that point. But he blew it wide open. I mean, after that, it was just completely done. And unfortunately, you have Strom and Alvarado, who were both very good for you last year, obviously, Alvarado especially. Just couldn't throw strikes today, especially Alvarado. I mean, that was just brutal. And you're just not going to win games if that happens. I guess maybe they saw something with the Braves plan at the plate that they didn't really want to give them anything to hit. I don't know. I don't know if it was just spring training, just being early in the season and all that. They didn't have enough reps. I don't know. But regardless, they just did not look good enough today.
Yeah, I think Strom's problem was he was 2 in the zone, and they were just hitting him around a little bit. Yeah. And Alvarado, I don't really know what was going on. He was just missing the zone quite a bit with his fastball, and he had no command of his cutter. He had none. I mean, it was bad. He was throwing 101 on the fastball, but I mean, you can't be a one-pitch pitcher at the end of the day because they're just going to sit there and wait for you to throw strikes, and ultimately he didn't throw strikes. But I mean, the rest of the bullpen, like, I'm not as mad at Brogdon and Marte or whoever else, but I mean, you go to your 3 big guys and they only get you through an inning and a third. That's brutal. I mean, you're never going to win games when that kind of stuff happens. It's just unfortunate the way it is. But I mean, Brogdon coming into that game, that's like you said, it's kind of like, let's just go play tomorrow at that point. I mean, Brogdon's bad. I mean,
Yeah.
when Kirkering's back, he's definitely the guy that's going to be gone for sure. I mean, he had no command. He
No.
was throwing changeups, and they were just in the dirt before they even got to the plate. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, I'll stick to my spring training opinion of that. They probably should have dealt him when he was starting to pitch well in spring, just because you could sell the upside with that changeup a little bit, even though we kind of know what he is at this point. It's unfortunate. I mean, he's not even that old. Like, he's still in his mid-20s, I believe, but it just seems like the confidence is never going to get back. And I think at this point, he's at best a body. I mean, that's being generous too. I'm not trying to be rude, but we obviously see what happened. On the bright side, I mean, Hoffman looked good. I mean, he was fine. He was the lone bright spot.
Yeah, he had that 4-pitch walk, and then he dialed in, and he was nasty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of the people at the ballpark were not necessarily mad that he hit Acuna by a pitch, too. So that's a different conversation. But I was glad he got his revenge on Austin Riley, though, for the time being, at least.
Yeah, he made him look pretty dumb.
Yeah, he did. I mean, Riley smoked the first ball foul, and then I think he struck out on three or four pitches after that. So that was awesome. I mean, I'm happy for Hoffman in that aspect, but I mean, when he's the only guy who you had a bright spot out of the bullpen today, I mean, it tells you what happened. So yeah, that was really the story of today. Was the bullpen was not there for whatever the reason, and you went to your key guys, like you said, Drew, and they didn't come through. So. And I agree with Nate and Nightings. I mean, look, the MLB putting us as the number one bullpen, that certainly was a trending topic among the Phillies fan base that hated our bullpen even last year when they were one of the better pens in baseball. And I certainly don't think that helped, but it's fitting they get ranked as the number one bullpen, and then what happens today happened. So, it is what it is. And I would probably welcome in, by the way, David. Good to see you in here. I would probably disagree with this. I mean, opening day, you don't want to tax Wheeler too much. He's at 90 pitches. He had a really good start. I think they pulled him at the perfect time. Maybe you give him another batter, but even then, that's not saving the game with what happened.
Yeah, his velo was slipping pretty bad there in the last inning. I mean, he was still throwing strikes, but you just can't let him out there to die like that. I mean, he was out of gas for sure. Mm-hmm. I think he was at 90 pitches, and it's opening day, and I don't even think he was stretched that far out in the in spring training. So, you're going to probably see the same thing with Nola tomorrow as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you had Michael Harris coming up next inning too, and obviously Wheeler's still getting that splitter down, which is there to help him versus lefties. So, with his velo slipping, I don't know if I necessarily want him going back out there against a very good hitter, Michael Harris too, who is also a lefty. That just probably would not have ended well. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I have on the game, honestly, Drew. We got some comments in here, but I mean, I'll give you the floor if you have anything else you wanted to talk about from the game. I don't think there's really much, to be quite honest, other than Matt Olson and Spencer Strider are really good.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the key of the game at that point. Strider, I mean, he gave up the 2 runs, but, at the end of the day, he was probably better than Wheeler. So,
right. And it was one bad pitch.
Yeah. I mean, I think we kind of covered everything on the game at this point. It was just kind of a total meltdown from the bullpen, and that's pretty much the story of it. You're going to have that.
Definitely. Yeah. Let's get to a few more comments here. Let me see, where were we? So, Ethan says, not too sad about this loss. It's only the first game. Yeah. And look, it's 1 of 162. Like, they all matter, but this is going to happen during the course of a season. You're going to have games like this. Unfortunately, it happened on opening day. It's just how it went. But you're going to have games like this where you just have to – sometimes you have to wave the white flag with a Connor Brogdon, unfortunately. Like, that's just how it goes. And you got to move on to the next day. And you know what? Maybe that's why we haven't won the division the past couple of years, but it hasn't kept us out of getting into the dance and getting into the playoffs. So I'm not necessarily going to be up in arms about it when it does happen. But Jason, welcome in. Good to see you in here. He says, this is what happens when the Phillies don't add any new players to the roster and run it back with the same relievers, and teams figure out their pitches from last year. I'll give you this one first, Drew. I would disagree with this, but I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, I completely disagree. I mean, there's 22, 23 quality players on this roster. I mean, it's not like they have gaping holes where these guys are like below average players getting negative WAR every year. I mean, they're a good team. I mean, it's just one game. I mean, there's no way to gauge how this whole season is going to be just based off one game. I mean, we know what the lineup is. They're strikeout prone and they can score a lot of runs. That's just the way it's going to be. I mean, It's like the last couple games of the NLCS last year. They just kind of went dry today, and that's the way it's going to be. Come out tomorrow and try to go yard.
Right. And again, their bullpen was very, very good last year. I know a lot of Phillies fans will disagree with that, but
Yeah,
the numbers say they were one of the better bullpens in baseball last year. Every bullpen blows games. That's the reality of a 162 game season, and it's the reality of being a relief pitcher too. Unfortunately, it happened, like I said, on the first game of the year. But that's not moving me off of the stance of this bullpen can still be very, very good, and it's early in the season, so I'm not going to panic. Like, it's the first games. We're probably going to say that a lot as we go through some of these comments here, and I know a lot of people are saying it too. But I would also disagree. I think they're going to be fine, and they also are saving some of that. They're going to get a couple guys at the deadline. I feel very confident saying that. I think there's probably a good chance they will get a bullpen guy at the deadline too. Like, I would be surprised if they didn't. I don't know what role they're going to play or how important they are going to be or how big of a piece they'll be. But, that's kind of where I stand on it too. And like Manning said, you really do hate to waste a Wheeler gem. And that's what a lot of people are saying too. It sucks.
Yep.
But
it's going to be what it's going to be. You're going to waste good pitching outings throughout the year. Other teams are going to do the same thing. I mean, it was kind of crappy to see. Like, it felt like it was a trend last year as well. But like when the other team brings in their bullpen, our lineup just like rolled over. I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
Like they have no idea what to expect. It's like they're not watching video on these guys, and they go up there guessing. I don't know what happens, but like the Braves bullpen just mowed right through us today. Like right after that big inning.
Right. Go for it.
Right after that big inning, like Harper or Schwarber, Turner, Harper, they just go down like, yeah, I don't really want to play anymore. I'll just be here tomorrow. Clocking out for the day.
It was quick too. And we didn't even see Minter today either. Like when it was tied and I see Minter warming up, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is because we've seen Minter so many times before. Like that, he's one of those Braves. It's like it's not like he's not like Acuna where he's flashy and I dislike him because he knows he's good. It's just like he's just good. Like there's nothing else about it. It's just he just dominates us and he doesn't really even he doesn't taunt us or anything. Like he just goes out there and goes to work, and we didn't even see him today. So we're probably going to see him at some point this weekend. Which I just hate facing him. I mean, he's the worst, but he's the best at the same time too. So I
mean, if Schwarber and Harper go out there and play like they did today, I mean, Minter's going to have a field day. It's going to be the quickest 1-2-3 inning you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, and Sully says leaving Stroman to face Riley was really the only pitching decision I was against today. Yeah, I mean, that was really the only one that was pretty questionable. You probably should have brought someone else in there at that point. But
you had Hoffman ready. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, I was not really sure what was going on there. But
I mean, actually, no, it wasn't Strom facing Riley. It was Strom facing Duvall.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, that's
you're right. Because Hoffman faced Riley. That was what it was. But Duvall, yes, correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Point being, though, power hitting righty.
Yeah. As soon as Duvall stepped out of that dugout, you should be walking up the steps if you're Rob right there and going to get Hoffman. I mean, there's no excuse really. I don't understand what he was doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember I was sitting there saying to my friend, I'm like, look, Duvall, he is strikeout prone, but every time he comes up with runners in scoring position, you should have some sort of fear because we've seen Duvall so many times throughout his career. I mean, he's just so good in those spots. He's clutch, like you just know what he can do. So
and Strom threw a ball right down the middle that I could have hit where Duvall hit that thing. I mean, that was a terrible pitch. It was like a slider, like not letters high on your jersey. Strom was pretty bad today. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. David asked if they'll play Merrifield tomorrow. I mean, maybe. I don't necessarily think there was any reason to do that based off what happened today. Maybe they do.
They did say they were going to, though.
They did? Okay.
Yeah, they said he was going to play this weekend.
Actually, with Fried on the mound, that makes sense because I guess they'll probably platoon Marsh. Did they say who he's playing for? Or
no, but you would assume it would be Marsh. But
that would be
I would hate to see them pull Marsh after today. I mean,
I know. And
maybe that'll change their mind.
And I want to see him hit against some lefties this year too. I want to see him get that opportunity. I think that would be good for him. But
I don't think he would really stand much of a chance against Sale. Honestly, Sale's pretty nasty.
But,
I mean, Fried
Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you want to play Witt both days, but I mean, I guess we'll see. Marsh kind of earned his spot tomorrow, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see him another game for sure. And Ted hopping in here. Welcome in, Ted. Says that's okay. We can go 161-1 and get that loss out of the way first. Yeah, exactly. There's still 161 games remaining. So I would guess that would probably get us into the playoffs too if we won all 161 games in a row. So there's still that possibility. And yeah, Ben says I thought Harper was fine today. Obviously not great, but he had good ABs and was seeing the off speed. And then Cassidy on the other hand, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Bryce, he is right. He was seeing the off speed pretty good,
Yeah.
but I mean, at the end of the day, look what Acuna did against Wheeler. I mean, you need something like that out of Bryce at the end of the day. I mean,
Yeah.
Strider wasn't pitching around him, and it also kind of a backtrack a little bit here on starting pitchers. It was no secret what the Braves' plan was against Wheeler. They were swinging.
Yep.
And they weren't letting Wheeler get deep into counts at the beginning of the game.
They made contact with the first 3 pitches of the game.
Yeah, they swung I think the first 6 pitches of the game, and I mean, like I said, it was no secret what they were trying to do. So I think Wheeler's probably going to throw some off speed at them next time.
Yeah, and I certainly don't think that was a bad plan by any means. I mean,
no,
they weren't able to execute it against him, but
right.
I mean, I'd be lying if I said there weren't some times where I was a little concerned. I mean,
I mean, Acuna got on base right away and then swiped a bag. I mean, that's exactly what you want him to do if you're the Braves.
Yeah, and he got out of that jam later in the game towards the end, but you know, he put himself in a jam too. So, but Wheeler was great today. So, And the toughest fans asked what player disappointed you the most. I mean, I think it's between, you could group in the bullpen as a whole, but I would probably just go Cassidy just because the swings were so ugly today, and it wasn't even competitive.
Yeah, I mean, he was easily the worst player on the field today, no question about it, and that says a lot considering Connor Brogdon pitched.
That's it's a good way to put it.
If that's the Castellanos you're going to get this season, you might as well just DFA him and bring somebody up from AAA. Honestly, he was terrible.
It's a joke, man. I mean, this is now going on year 3 of the same stuff with him, and I'm sure he'll have a good regular season. That's the thing, is we know he's going to put up probably similar numbers again, I would guess, and we'll get into the playoffs. He'll have a few moments here and there, but it's just once it gets to the biggest moment and you need him in that spot, his weaknesses are just too well known for him to come through in that spot, unfortunately. And they're just you can't hide him. He can't hide him at all. So
and like the big thing is going to be, I think you're going to see a trend of this throughout the year, is like Stott's going to come up in big spots a lot this year. And if first base is open, they're not even going to pitch to him because Castellanos is just absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
If he has a righty on the mound and the righty has a decent breaking ball, you might as well just forget about it, honestly.
Yeah, he's going to get the Rojas treatment, unfortunately.
Yeah,
which is crazy. But
maybe Rojas is going to bat 7th at some point.
Yeah, it's crazy. But that's our overreaction, I guess, of Game 1 for sure. So
it's just it's so frustrating because it's the same crap that we've seen the last couple of years. Like,
no, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And Sully says, positive note is we have momentum on arguably the best pitcher and team in Major League Baseball, and we're in position to win the game. Build off of that. Yeah, let's hope they do tomorrow. I mean, we can kind of transition a little bit as we wrap up here into a preview of tomorrow. We'll get to a few more comments before we wrap up. But look, Knowles and Fried tomorrow. Obviously, that's going to be another good pitching matchup. I imagine it'll be similar to today where it's low scoring in the first 5-6 innings. I would imagine there will be some scoring, though, in those innings rather than nothing until the Marsh home run. I mean, we've seen those 2 guys are obviously they're a little more susceptible to giving up a couple runs here and there or having a bad start here and there. So I think you're going to see some guys get on base. There are going to be opportunities, but it really depends. Again, this team goes at the top as the top of the lineup goes. So can Trey get on base early? Can Schwarber give us a spark early? That's the things it's going to come down to. But tomorrow is going to be a fun game. Another 4:05 tomorrow, so an hour later, but another afternoon game. Should be fun to watch. I don't know. I mean, Merrifield, if he does play tomorrow, and he said they will. So with him playing tomorrow, I mean, I'm excited to watch him play too. You know, he was a very interesting signing in the offseason, and as the offseason progressed, I became more optimistic about that contract. So I am curious to see what he does tomorrow. And I honestly think sometimes just having the guy like that in the lineup, especially a player of his profile, where he's kind of a contact guy, a speed guy, like you put him in that lineup tomorrow, I do think it's one of those things where he's going to do something and the crowd's going to react and it's going to give you that type of spark you need after in any game that you need a rebound off of. That's the type of spark you're going to need. So
yeah,
those are a couple things I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about it because I want to see Marsh play against lefties, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I want to go out and win tomorrow. I mean, if Marsh is going to be brutal against lefties and that's how they feel about it, then I wouldn't be mad if they played Merrifield. I mean, I'm not going to be mad either way because Merrifield's a good player and
Yeah.
he's obviously earned his keep. I mean, he was really good in spring training, so I mean, I don't really know exactly what the big thing's going to be tomorrow. Like, feels like it could be the Phillies lineup goes off or the Phillies bullpen goes off. I feel like they're going to win that game tomorrow, though, for sure. I don't know why.
Yeah, you would hope so for sure. And just to get to this too, Nate says hopefully Orion hits the ground running from his injury. Yeah, with how Brogdon was today, we are really going to need him to, because he is one of those guys who fills out the top of that bullpen for sure if he pitches the way he should. And thankfully, it's just the flu again. It sounded like it was brutal, so hopefully he is getting back to 100%, because when you get sick like that, it really it does number on you. It can really take a long time to get back from that. Contrary to popular belief, sometimes, like, I'm sure there's some people who really just want him on the field right now who are complaining a little bit, and I understand it, but it's early in the season, so hopefully he does take his time. But like Nate said, hopefully when he comes back, he's just fully ready to go. And yeah, I didn't hear anything. I haven't really kept up with the reports on like when he's going to rehab or whatever. So, but I don't think it's going to be super, super long that he's on the IL to start the season.
Yeah, I saw a report actually. I think it might have been this morning or something, but maybe yesterday. He threw a bullpen down in Florida and he hit 98. Good. So that was good to see.
Good. That's important. Yeah, that's big time. And we'll get to the last comment here from Sully. Thank you for tuning in, Sully, and being active in the chat. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
JT's approach at the plate disappointed me the most. At least Casty laid off pitches he's been swinging at for years. I don't know about that, but that's the other thing is Casty. I mean, I didn't think he was laying off a lot of pitches, in my opinion. I thought he was whiffing in addition to not laying off the pitches. That's kind of where I stood today. But I would agree that JT's approach at the plate was very disappointing, because you can fix a hole in your swing. You can fix a hole in your swing, but you need to have a sound approach at the plate. That's not going to fix itself.
Yeah, I mean, JT's, it kind of gets amplified a little more because he's batting between Harper and Bohm. And Bohm was productive today, and Harper was on base once. So, I mean, Castellanos came up with guys on base, obviously. But, I mean, JT's batting right in the middle of the lineup. So, I mean, I guess obviously he's going to get some more attention as far as going 0 for 4 or whatever. But I don't think you can be worse than Castellanos was today. That guy was just awful.
Yeah. Yeah, that was brutal. That was brutal, man. Let's just hope we move past that today. And yeah, Turnbull, it does sound like he's going to start later this week. So that'll be interesting to see. But we'll get to that when the time comes. Guys, I put the Discord link in the chat. I don't know if the link is – it is showing up. So if you click on the link, if you're still here and you want a place to talk Phils, talk all Philly sports, our Discord is in the chat here. Click on the link. Join us if you have Discord. We'd love to talk Phils. The Phils chat was popping today. I didn't get to –
yeah, it was.
But a lot of people were talking during that game now that the season has started. And that's definitely out of the 4 teams that we have channels for. The Phils one is like, if you're here for Phils baseball, like a lot of you are right now, that is the place to be. That's a great place to talk Phils with everyone who is subscribed to the channel and everyone who just loves talking Phils in general. So make sure you guys go join that. And anything else you got on the socials, Discord, anything else you want to talk about, Drew, before we wrap up here?
No, I mean, anybody that is in the Discord, we appreciate what you guys have been doing. I mean, it's been fun to be in there because, I mean, we have probably 15 people that are active at least every single day talking about Phillies. I mean, even if they're not talking, they're in there looking at it, reading it, whatever it may be. We see you guys. I mean, we appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, we appreciate all you guys. And Sully, it was fun today. I mean, honestly, like the pregame festivities is what you're there for on opening day for the most part. Seeing the tradition, seeing the players come down from center field, like that was cool. Obviously, yeah, I would have preferred if they won the game. But the Marshy bomb, I mean, the place went nuts. It was awesome. Like we all went ballistic when that happened. And we started to get in Strider's head that inning for sure. But that was really the only fun moment of the game other than Wheeler being an absolute freak. And also Bohm and Harper making a couple of Gold Glove caliber plays early in that game too. Especially Harper. I mean, that diving play at first was awesome. So, yeah, that was good to see. Outside of Trey's error, the infield defense was pretty good. And there was a ball stop probably could have gotten to as well. But the corner infield was solid outside of the one. Bohm also bobbled the one. So, yeah, there's actually a couple plays that probably could have been cleaned up. But regardless, there was a couple nice plays to get excited about too.
Yeah, luckily Wheeler bailed Trey out on that. That was just brutal. I mean, there's no excuse for that kind of stuff. Like he's trying to get the balls off to the side, like he said he wasn't going to try to do, and he did it, and the ball went right past him. Like, and then Stott, that ball that you were talking about, he actually overdove it. It went to the right of his glove, which is kind of weird, or to the left of his glove.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said to my buddy while we were in the stands. I said it looked like he overran it or overdove.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, because it went right through him almost, but which was uncharacteristic of him. But I'm thankful for the Gold Glove case that that doesn't go against him, at least in the error category. So it's still clean there. But
yeah, I wanted to talk about this. The most brutal thing from the whole day was they gave that guy a hit on that trade ball.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
On that one too?
On the error. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. That's terrible.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the worst plays I've seen Trey make over the past year, and there was a lot of them last year. So
yeah, I'm like 90% sure they gave him a hit. Let me check, because I don't want to be upset about it and then not be right.
I know the Stott one was a hit, and debatable. Like, I probably wouldn't have marked as a hit, but I get with how they've scored those types of hits. I get it because he didn't touch it, but I know he dove for it too.
Okay, they didn't give him the hit. I was gonna say they might have changed it. They might have changed it, but Kruk was complaining about it on the broadcast. So
there's nothing I missed more than hearing Kruk complain about the scoring decisions throughout the year. So I'm looking forward to more of that.
If that's a hit, you might as well just stop tracking errors, like Kruk said, and that's terrible. Yeah, it must have been scored a hit right away. It had to have been.
Yeah, they're still trying to boost those numbers of the new rule changes and all that. And I was talking to my buddy about it today too. It's like the shift has been limited. It's not eliminated. Let's be real. Like, you can see it every single time anyone's up.
Yeah, Schwarber's been getting shifted like crazy. He hit that ball right back up the middle today. Right at the guy. Like, what the heck?
He hit it well too. Like,
yeah, exactly. I hate that. I mean, I wish they would just play in normal positions. I hate it.
It is what it is. But anything else you want to talk about, Drew, before we wrap up here?
Nope. I think we're all good. I'm ready for tomorrow. I mean, definitely want to get today out of my head.
I think we're all looking forward to moving past today. So
yeah,
let's put it behind us as fans too. Enjoy some March Madness the rest of the night, if you guys enjoy that. But if not, look forward to tomorrow. Go watch the hype video to get excited for tomorrow. I'm sorry it didn't really pan out today. The hype video got everyone excited just for a letdown. But hey, long season left. We're still feeling confident. And 3-Card Monty hopping in right at the end here saying Phillies win tomorrow. That's all we needed to hear to end this podcast. So
absolutely,
thank you guys for listening. We appreciate all you. We're going to be going live post game a lot this year. And we're looking forward to talking to you guys soon. So we'll maybe talk to you guys tomorrow, and we'll keep you guys updated. So God bless y'all and have a good one.
Peace.